Let's go to line number 3 and speak with the Tory member for Mount Pearl South, Paul Lane. Hello, Paul. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you this morning?
Fine, you?
I'm great. Paddy, I had a couple of quick things I wanted to just briefly talk about, and then after that you can fire away. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay, buddy. Number one, I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate all the members of the Mount Pearl Frosty Festival Board of Directors, all the community groups who came together and put off one heck of a Frosty Festival again this year. I mean, I know over the years prior to becoming a member of council, I was a long-time community and volunteer. I was on the Frosty Board of Directors and organised a number of events. I know the work and time that goes into it, and they prepare for this all year long, and it was a great success, and we certainly couldn't do the things we do in our community if it wasn't for great volunteers. So that's the first thing.
Okay, the volunteers make the world go round, and despite the nasty weather, the Frosty Festival got great reviews, so congratulations to everyone involved. You got anything else quick you want to mention? Okay,
I do. The other quick thing I wanted to mention is that this coming Monday, March the 4th, is a deadline for the UROC Volunteer Award nominations.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for us to recognize a lot of the great things that are going on throughout the province involving youth, to recognize some great youth organizations, some great youth volunteers as well. And like I said, the nominations are closing this Monday, so I certainly encourage anybody throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. You know, we hear quite often, negative things seems to be the flavor of the day when it comes to youth and everything else for that matter. And it's great, I think, to recognize a lot of the great things, the great kids we have out there. So www.urocvolunteerawards.ca is where you can go and get the nomination information and packages and so on. And by the way, youth is defined as anyone 30 years or younger.
Yeah, so that's for individuals or for non-profits that are run by youth 30 and under. And you, right, in this circumstance, when we talk about UROC, it's the letter U and not YOU if you want to find more information.
Absolutely. It's also available on Twitter and Facebook as well.
I'm backing it 100%. Yeah, I'm in the volunteer community, and I think it's important to recognize, and we celebrate their efforts, and hopefully we can convince some of their pals to get involved as volunteers as well, and that's the key to these recognition awards. And I mean, I'm totally into the UROC.
There you go.
Now, Paul, we got those done, and they're important messages to bring up.
Absolutely.
And now we move on to what was the flavor of the week last week, and a lot of conversation about it. And unfortunately, I guess for you, and I've known you well, and I'm not going to be overly harsh or ridiculed, but you lied to me. And I don't understand why, because it was sort of a non-story had been handled appropriately. I asked you about your role in poll manipulation, how the government goes about it, the concerted effort, and to each of those questions, you deliberately misled me and consequently the listeners.
Well, Paddy, first of all, I guess we'll agree to disagree on that one.
There's no dispute, Paul. I asked you straight questions and you lied to me.
No, you asked me straight questions, and I gave you straight answers to those questions. And as a matter of fact, you can go on YouTube and listen to the whole conversation a million times. I have. And I stand by the commentary I made, Paddy. You asked me about any involvement, for example, in terms of manipulating polls, being able to go in and vote 1,000 times, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
I told you that each morning I go into my office, as I have done this morning. I go to the news stories. If there's polls there, regardless if they're provincial, federal, municipal, whatever, I vote. I vote once. I told you I do not know how to manipulate a computer. I don't know how to manipulate a computer. Certainly in the story, and by the way, I hate, to some degree, I have a problem commenting on some of the things that were in the paper there, because, first of all, I'll stand by the fact that, A, it's an anonymous source. B, I haven't seen the originals. C, I don't know when they were made, in what context they were made. I don't know if there's one comment from 1 week and one comment from 2 months later, or whatever the case might be. But that being as it may, there was a point there where somebody, some alleged person, whoever it was, and the story quite clearly said not me, who said, well, here's how you manipulate a computer. Well, I mean, if I put out a message to people saying vote in a poll, and I could have put that out 9 o'clock this morning, and then at 10 o'clock at night, somebody says, oh, by the way, here's a way to manipulate a computer. A, that doesn't mean I still know how to do it, or that I did it, or whatever the case might be. So that was one point.
But the reaction, Paul,
asked me about... Okay, I was going to say the second point you asked me about was the, calling on open line shows. And I think I was quite clear that we do coordinate. I coordinate with my colleagues for calling in on open line shows, and there's a reason for it. And the reason is quite simple. The reason is that, we want to get our message out, and B, it wouldn't make sense to have like 5 MHAs this morning all sitting by the phone when we know only one of us is probably going to get on. So it only makes sense if I'm going today, someone else will go tomorrow, someone else go tonight.
Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is, you guys, and I say this with all sincerity and respect, you guys can coordinate your schedule all you like, but it's not up to you or anyone else, including the Premier who gets on the show. It's up to me and Murph.
Absolutely.
Who comes on this program.
I totally respect that, but if we're not in the queue, we don't have a chance. Right?
No, I don't mind. Listen, the elected officials are welcome to call at any time. We get you in when we can, and that's sort of the end of the story there. That was reported as if you guys had all in cheerleading the response of staff members who are paid by tax dollars, certainly have better things to be at than clicking on questions today or any online poll.
Yeah.
And then you say, you go in and you vote once. There's also leaked pins and stuff that say you were told quite clearly how you can do it as you were looking for information on how you can do it. And plus, when you send out notes to say, hey, we're way behind, got to get in and vote on these particular questions.
Yes.
How can that be anything but a gross misrepresentation of public opinion when we have government members and government staffers clicking endlessly on a poll that does not reflect government or does not reflect public opinion? It reflects your coordinated abuse and manipulation of the poll. Is there any defense for that?
Paddy, everybody has, well, first of all, these are non-scientific polls.
It doesn't matter, Paul. They are the reflection of the public, not of what the government thinks.
I understand, but these are unscientific polls. These are put here, really, by the media to some degree to draw people to their site and so on. But that being said, if somebody is a staffer or someone is an MHA or whatever, they certainly have the right to vote just as much as anyone else has the right to get out and vote. So who's to say that I'm not allowed to participate? My assistant is not allowed to vote in the polls? Sure, they're allowed to vote. We have lots of people, supporters who support what this government is doing. They support our party. They want to participate. So if I have someone who supports this government and they supports a particular program, and I say there's a question today, you'd be interested in voting in, I encourage you to vote, and they say, yeah, absolutely. And they go and vote just like anybody else.
But it's not about one person.
All the parties are doing it. They've all said it.
But that's not a defense for this. It's not the others are at it, so that makes it passable for all. And I've been very clear on this. For all political parties and their staff, knock it off. Because if we're trying to get a reflection of what people think, unscientific or not, it is absolutely unfair and unprofessional and dishonest for a government, in particular, because you're the government, you're the law, to be involved in manipulation of polls, regardless if you're behind or in front of a public opinion poll of a government policy. Government should stay out of it and watch the people react to it. The fact that the Liberals and NDP are at it just makes them as bad as you guys. But you're the poster boy for this because you were asked straight questions. You can deny that you misled me or lied to me, but the fact remains you knew more than you disclosed that day, despite being asked very direct questions. So, Paul, how can a government say that it's okay to encourage or cheerlead staffers and members to vote more than once to further government's policy as opposed to a reflection of the public opinion? How can that be defensible? Because in my mind, it is not. I don't care if it's been going on forever and a day. It was a legitimate straight question, given a less than honest answer, and government should not be involved in trying to manipulate public opinion. That's not what you're there to do. You're there to do people's business, not to tell us what our business is.
Paddy, and I certainly respect that, but I would say to you that certainly as a government and as a party, we have to ensure our message gets out there. We have to ensure that things are not skewed one way or the other. We have supporters who are supporting what we do. Then yes, we're going to bring it to their attention so they can participate to add some balance to all the negativities going the other side. I mean, as I said to you, I challenge you to go into any news story. You can go to any news story today, yesterday, last week, whether it be CBC, whether it be VOCM, whatever the case might be, and you just go through the comments, and you see how, and this could be, if we announced that we were going to do something wonderful that everybody agreed to, and everyone thought, for the most part, was a great announcement, I can guarantee you're going to go in there, and you're going to look at anonymous comment from the same old people, and everything there is going to be beaten up on the government, 99% of it.
How can we trust the government members who say, when it comes out that an opinion poll or a CRA poll that reflects that there's been a slide of support for the party and or the Premier, and then out of one side of your mouth say that we don't govern by polls, these are simply a snapshot in time, yet the concerted effort to manipulate in a question of the day poll, if you don't govern by polls, what's the importance of trying to manipulate one?
Paddy, bottom line is that, we participate in the political process. That's something that we do. That's something that the other parties do. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with participating. As far as, I want to just go back to a comment you made, though, as well as about, you asked me questions, okay?
Yep.
You ask me questions, I give you straight answers. Now, if you didn't ask me a certain thing, am I going to be offering up all kinds of other potential things for you to beat me over the head with? Of course I'm not. But anything you asked me, I answered, and I answered them to the best of my ability. You also asked me, was I being told or forced to do this, or I wouldn't get promoted if I didn't? And I said, no, that's not the case, and it's not the case. So, I take it very seriously because I've worked very hard over the years as a long-time community volunteer, as a professional in my field, and, of course, a municipal politician, now a provincial politician. I've always prided myself on working hard, doing a good job, doing the best of my ability, and I've also prided myself on having integrity and so on. Now, you can argue, you can go look at the things you asked me, and you can argue based on some of the things that are being alleged there that, perhaps it wasn't 100% truthful or whatever. I can tell you that the questions you asked me, I answered them, and I stick by my answers.
I'm going to ask you the same question I just did, and then one more quick one.
Sure.
If a government does not govern on polls, then what is the importance of manipulating one? And it's just an answer to that. No reflection of anything else outside of that, just that one question. How do you respond to that?
I think that, Paddy, as far as polls, and you got to remember now, CRA poll, which is an independent organization who's going out, who's phoning people individually and asking them a certain question, and it's done in a scientific manner or whatever. And I think to compare that to a simple question of the day that's in there that we know that all parties are involved in bringing forth their opinions, and if you want to call it manipulating or getting their supporters or themselves voting in them and so on, I don't think you can compare the two. I really don't.
But we do know that when people talk about disabling cookies and turning off your browser, whatever the hell may be, that there's a concerted effort to vote more than once, which is disingenuous representation of the public opinion. One more, and then we got to go to the break.
I don't know how to do it.
Well, and that's not really good defense either, is it, though, Paul? Mainly that you don't know how to use a computer, so that's a defense for this?
I'm not saying I don't know how to use a computer, Paddy. That's unfair. What I have said from day one is, look, I can use, based on my knowledge of computers, which is very, very limited, and I told you this before, I can certainly go in, I can use Facebook, I can go on Twitter, I can answer some emails, I can go into Microsoft Word and or write a letter, and I can use Excel to do a spreadsheet, and I can use PowerPoint, because I did that in my prior profession. I did a lot of presentations, so I know how to use that. But as far as going into a computer and manipulating settings and all this kind of stuff or whatever, I honestly don't know anything about it.
It's as easy as...
But I don't know anything about it.
Well, and obviously we know people know a lot about it in Confederation building.
I'm sure
and if they want to vote on these things, and especially if they want to vote more than once, and do it at home. And don't do it on your government BlackBerry, because that's not your responsibility as an elected official or a staffer in the bloated public service. Last question, Paul.
Sure.
Knowing that people are dying to catch you in another half-truth, if that's how we want to refer to it, and then who does direct you to do this? Who gives you the okay? Knowing that if there's someone who's got information that says that someone has indeed told you, whether it comes from the Premier's office or anywhere else, or the party as a whole, who tells you that it's okay to do it, and who gives you your marching orders how and when to organize or coordinate or cheerlead the manipulation of polls?
Paddy, as the caucus chair, okay, and I guess that's to some degree, that's why I guess I'm in the middle of it, if you will, and I'm the poster boy, if that's what they want to make me, and that's fine. I mean, listen, I got big shoulders, and I can take it.
It's a tough racket.
But as caucus chair, as I said on another media outlet, which I've done a couple of interviews on it, okay, as caucus chair, my role is to work with my colleagues and so on to ensure that we're all participating in the political process, and whether that be through online polling, whether that be through participation in open line shows, whether that be through social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever the case might be, it's my role is to sort of let them know when there's questions, and to sort of coordinate, I guess, the coordination of calling in on shows.
Paul, does any of this come from the Premier's office? You're a newly elected MHA. Knowing what your job description is not that simple, especially when it comes to caucus chair or party whip. Did the Premier or anyone in the Premier's office help coordinate and direct what is indeed public's perception is a manipulation of the poll? Does it come from the Premier? Yes or no?
Paddy, it's as caucus chair, that is my role to do, and that's what I do.
I appreciate your time today, and I know this is...
And I would suggest the Premier got busier, got more things to do running the province.
Well, I friggin' certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And that's Liberals and NDP. I've been fair on that front. I know they're all at it. They can say whatever they like. We all know people participate. They send out these emails and pins to their supporters, known supporters, and this is the end result. These opinion polls are hopefully to reflect some public opinion, not what government and or other opposition parties think of their position on it. That's not what they're for, and on government time and on taxpayers' money and time, it's not acceptable, and I know you know that, and I know it's been a tough stretch for you, and it's a tough world out there, especially as an elected official. I'll give you 10 seconds or 30 seconds to wrap up.
Paddy, the only other thing I want to say when you talk about, putting time and everything into it, this is totally blown out of proportion as well. I mean, I can tell you now that if anybody thinks for a second that I'm in here every day, sat down to my computer, answer questions a day, they're totally misinformed. Look, I'm busy. I got lots of things to do in my district, as to my colleagues. Do I go in and will I vote in a poll? Absolutely. If there's a poll there that I think is of some importance or whatever, will I let my colleagues know and so on and encourage them to vote? Yes, I do. Will I coordinate in terms of, participating open line? Yes. But as far as saying that this is what I'm at day and night on government time, my office and so on all day long is absolutely crazy, and I can tell you it's totally factually incorrect.
Thanks for the call.
Not a problem, Paddy. Call anytime.
All the best.
All right. All the best to you. Bye.